This is a railroad I designed one day when I was bored. What was I saying? It's inspired mainly by New Jersey Transit, and it's a statewide transit system that services all of Pennsylvania. This is what the logo was originally going to look like. I have since changed it a little bit, which you'll see later in this video. Here there are a number of lines that service all the pretty much all the cities in this state. And after looking at this map, I see why no one has built something like this. It looks like it would be something very expensive, especially considering all the mountains that this railroad would have to cut through. Okay, here we have a line that starts at Strasburg, and then it stops in Easton, and then Bethlehem and Allentown, basically connecting all the areas that I live in. Then it continues to Reading, Pottstown, and Norristown, and then Philadelphia. And then it continues east to Atlantic City. And then here's a tram line that will go from Philadelphia to Levittown. Okay, here's a line. This is a line that I added after I drove on I-476 and realized how many people use this highway on a daily basis. It starts at Wilkes-Barre, and then it basically just travels down I-476 and stops in Allentown, and then it goes all the way to Philadelphia. This would hopefully relieve a lot of traffic that is on this highway, because it does slow down a lot between Allentown and Philadelphia. Here's a line I created that starts at New York Penn Station, and then it goes to Strasburg, and then Easton, then Allentown, and then Reading, Pottstown, Dolleystown, and then continues east to Trenton. Here's a line I created that starts at Baltimore. Not sure if that's exactly where Baltimore is, but it's somewhere in that area. Then it continues to Hanover. Then it goes to York, and then Lancaster, and then Reading. Now once it gets to Reading, it'll become an express train and only stop at the larger towns in this area. So it's gonna stop at Allentown. It's gonna skip Bethlehem and Easton because there aren't that many people living there. And then it's gonna stop at Strasburg, and then Wilkes-Barre, and then Pottstown. Now, interesting thing about Scranton, I was originally going to have both of these lines stop here, but then after driving in Scranton, I realized what a small town it was and thought, yeah, I don't need a lot of lines going through here. I mean, if there's only 2 people living there, not that many people are going to be riding the train from there anyway. So yeah, this one's going to skip Scranton. It's going to go to Williamsport, Jersey Shore, Lock Haven. Then it's going to stop at Bellefonte, where you can transfer to another line, which I'll talk about later. And then State College, Huntingdon, Bedford, Summerfest, Greensburg, Monroeville, and Pittsburgh. Now, the first thing I realized when creating this line is this is a long way to travel just to get to Pittsburgh. So I created another line that goes to Pittsburgh faster. So it starts at Baltimore, then it goes to Gettysburg, and then it goes to Chambersburg, Uniontown, Winesburg, Washington, Bethel Park, Mount Lebanon, and Pittsburgh. Now, one day I was driving a truck through I-80, and I realized how many people there were on this highway. Most of them who really shouldn't be on the highway because they are crazy and reckless. So I thought we need to get as much of these people off the highway as possible. So I created a line that basically runs parallel to I-80 and stops at most of the cities in that area. It starts at Newcastle, then Grove City, then it goes to Devoy. It skips this area because it's mainly an express line. So yeah, it's gonna skip Clearfield and then it's gonna stop at Bellefonte. It's gonna skip Bloomsburg and Berwick, Then it's going to stop at Wilkes-Barre, and then Strasburg. Here's another line I created for people who live in eastern Pennsylvania that are trying to get to New York. Starts at Baltimore, then it goes to Lebanon, Pottstown. How do you pronounce that? And then it's going to stop at Shenandoah, Hazeltown, Strasburg, and then it's going to skip on ahead to New York. So this purple line starts at Harrisburg, the first place that I failed my CDL test, by the way. Anyway, then it's gonna stop at Lebanon. It's gonna skip Pottstown and stop at Shenandoah. Then it's gonna stop at Berwick. Then it's gonna stop at Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. Then it's gonna go to Syracuse and Binghamton, New York. Here's another line I created that connects Pittsburgh with Lake Erie. Actually, is it pronounced Erie or Uri? Because I've heard some people in documentaries pronounce it Erie and others pronounce it Uri. I'm pretty sure it's Erie though, because people from here pronounce it that way. Anyway, it starts at Pittsburgh, goes to Kittanning. It's weird that I live in this state and don't know how to pronounce half the towns in this area. And then it starts at Clarion. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. Then it's going to stop at Edinburgh and then Erie. Now at Erie, there's going to be a train station that's going to be basically very close to the coastline, so you can clearly see Lake Erie. So it's going to be a very scenic experience for people who are going to this area. And here's a line that runs parallel to I-79. I created this line as a faster way to get to Pittsburgh from Erie for people who are trying to get there faster. It goes to Grove City, and then Meadville, and then Edinburgh, and then Erie. So there's 4 stops to get there. So this blue line is a line I created that connects Philadelphia with a few of the more important cities in this state. So it starts at Philadelphia, continues east to Lancaster, then it goes straight to Harrisburg, then it goes to Altoona, then it goes to New Kensington, then Pittsburgh. Now, this gray line that goes from Pittsburgh to Erie continues east after stopping at Erie and goes to Corey. Then it stops at Warren, Bradford, Coudersport, Wellsboro, Mansfield, Towanda, Carbondale, and then it continues east to New York. Now there's another line that goes the same way from Erie to New York. Now, in addition to all these main lines, I also created shuttle services. These services, the names of these lines start with the letter S for shuttle and then a number. So they basically connect smaller towns that don't have a big enough population to be serviced with the main line so that they can get to the railroad without having to drive, in case they don't have a car. So here's a shuttle line that starts at Philadelphia and goes to Levington. A lot of these lines will basically be operated by light rail vehicles, probably even by other types of services like monorails. Now here's one that starts at Lancaster, goes to Westchester, and then Chester. Here's one that starts at Columbia, goes to York, then Carlisfield, and then Harrisburg. And at Harrisburg, there are 2 other shuttle lines. One goes to Levistown and then State College. The other one goes to Sunbury, Bloomsburg, Berwick, and Wilkes-Barre. Here's one that goes from Easton to Phillipsburg. Not really sure if that's necessary since Phillipsburg is right across the river. A lot of people just walk there. In fact, it might actually be really hard to convince them to use this service to go such a short distance. So here's one that goes from Altoona to Johnstown. Here's one that goes from Dubois. Actually, no, it goes from Kittening to Indiana. Yeah, from Kittening to Indiana. Then it stops at I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. And then it stops at Dubois, and then Clearfield, Tyrone, and then Huntingdon. Okay, here's one that starts at Titusville, if that's how you pronounce it, Oil City, Franklin, Grove City, and then Newcastle. Then it continues east. Continues east to Butler, and then Pittsburgh. And here's another one that goes from Pittsburgh to Aliquippa, and then Beaver Falls. Here's one that starts at Warren. Then it goes to Kane, St. Mary's, Emporium, and Coudersport, where it connects back to the main line. Okay, and here's one that stops at Towanda, then Tyre, and then it goes to Honesdale, and then Carbondale. This is my first design for the trams or the light rail vehicles, but I'm thinking of changing it later on. And here's the logo that I chose for it. It's basically the same logo used on the Pennsylvania Railroad, but instead of PRR, it says PAT for Pennsylvania Transit. And here's what the logo for the 476 service will look like. Basically, the services that run parallel to the interstates will have the name of the interstate that they run parallel to on the sides of the train, so you'll basically know that you're riding an express. Here's the design I drew for the cab car. It's basically just silver, and it has a logo on the front of the door. Here's what the side of those passenger cars will look like. It's basically designed to have the same logo as the silver Pennsylvania Railroad passenger cars, and it'll say Pennsylvania on the side of them. This is a design for what the front of the bi-level cab cars will look like. I changed the logo on this one because the original logo, for some reason it didn't look right when I tried to draw on this locomotive, so I changed it up a little bit. And this is what the side of the bi-level will look like. Basically, I'm actually not that good at drawing bi-level cars. That's all I have so far. I haven't really designed what the locomotives will look like on these trains yet, or even what the EMUs will look like.